Hello, cadets, and welcome to Leadership Day, Leaders 411 2020, the pandemic version. We're here on Zoom with a special guest from Dixon Hughes, Roy Strickland. Without any further ado, Roy, we want these cadets to hear about your background, where you grew up, where you came from, how you got into the Citadel and out, and then what happened, particularly that transition out of the Citadel, and how you developed a career and what you're responsible for now. So the floor is yours. Welcome to 411, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Ted. It's funny you mentioned about the pandemic, and naturally we're all dealing with it right now. And I just noticed I had a casual shirt on today. We've been work from home since mid-March of this year. And I'll start off by telling you, I think I've been wearing a suit for 35 years on a daily basis, so it's taken a change for me in this new environment, which we're all dealing with. I graduated from the Citadel in 1985. Was in our company through my junior year. I was regimental academic officer my senior year. And my story might be a little different, and it might be a little strange in that I kind of knew what I wanted to do since probably my senior year in high school. My mother worked for a local CPA firm for a long time here in Charleston. And I actually took some accounting courses in high school and got interested in accounting. And I went to the Citadel, business administration major, but focused most of my electives in accounting. And then when I left, and I think I graduated on May the 5th, and a week later I started work with Arthur Andersen, which at the time, this kind of shows my age, it was a big 8 at that time. Now it's a big 4. Arthur Andersen, who is no longer in existence, that company was the largest accounting firm in the world, had 80,000 employees. And I was just tickled pink. It was kind of the company you wanted to go to work for. Mark Bebensey actually got me an interview, kind of out of schedule. I didn't get on the list or didn't sign up soon enough. And in those days, the Arthur Andersen folks took the professors out the night before to eat, and somehow Mark got me in. He came to my room that night and said, "Roy, I've got your appointment at 7:30 in the morning." So that started my career. I started out in those days, it was audit and tax. Started out in the audit side, and in the real world began naturally. And I really, I focused on, I kind of knew where I wanted to go. I wanted to be a CPA. I focused on that, was able to pass the exam. And for probably, I've worked a lot always, but in those first 5 to 6 years, you work a lot. And I worked a lot. And in those days, that's the way it worked. We probably have more of a flexible environment in today's world than we've been at that time. But what you're trying to do, there's a logic behind it, is you're working as much as possible to gain as much experience and exposure early in your career that will then allow you to advance in whichever organization you're involved with. And you want to advance. If you want to advance fast or on schedule, you've got to get a lot of exposure early on. So I guess in 91, I left Arthur Andersen as a manager and joined another Citadel grad, Barry Gum, and a young lady who, we were all young in those days, a young lady, Tricia Wilson, who worked with me at Arthur Andersen. And we formed a CPA firm in Charleston, just the 3 of us. We had, I guess, a total of, we might have had 5, maybe 6 employees. Barry and Tricia had merged together, I think in 89, and I came on board in 91. And we started this little firm and moved forward. We merged with one other group, another Citadel grad, Harold Pratt Thomas, and then Rudy Thomas, who's a 3rd Citadel grad, joined us. And our firm, in 2006, we had over 100 employees and merged in with Dixon Hughes, which is where I'm at today. And as I say, what's strange about my story is I've kind of stayed, I haven't had a lot of jobs. I haven't moved around. I've stayed kind of working with the same folks from the beginning. And I did have a change though in my career path. And I think this is important for everybody to look at is I started out on the audit side and in the early 90s. I had the opportunity to do some work related to litigation support, and we had some forensic work. I kind of got in that area. I maintained my audit practice, but once I got started in that area, I enjoyed it. At first, I didn't know what I was doing, learning from, bad experiences and some successes, and then started taking some training in the forensic area. And then when we merged into Dixon Hughes Goodman, I basically transferred my audit book over to another partner, and I made a big career change in that I moved into forensics full time. And I was the managing partner for our organization for the forensic evaluation practice. So, and I've been doing that since full time, since around 07, 08. And that's what I do today. My group, we're involved with forensic accounting and valuation work. That's testifying in court, investigating frauds, doing damage calculations, helping insurance companies or individuals with insurance claims. It's a wide range of work that we do, including valuations for tax purposes, transaction purposes, et cetera. So that's my progression to where I'm at now. And the kind of neat thing about it is I've kind of worked with, naturally the group's a lot larger now, but there's this group of professionals that I've worked with for a long time, and we've built strong relationships, and it makes it a pleasure to come to work. So that's the story.
Well,
and I will say, Ted, in that for about, I guess, 4 years, I also served as an adjunct professor at the Citadel in the intro to accounting course. And that's probably my most favorite thing to do is teach. And I had a great experience there. I wish I could find the time to continue to do it. But yeah, that's kind of the career story. I've kind of knew what it was going to be. And I was fortunate that it's kind of turned out that my mother, and being around a CPA firm early in my teenage years and watching her, that I'm still doing that sort of stuff today. So
that is just a terrific story. Thank you for sharing it. You know what? When I hear that story, you mentioned built these strong relationships, and these cadets who are seniors now. Mark Bebensey was their interim provost when they were coming up in the Citadel, so they know that name. It's amazing that what I didn't hear, but I'm inferring, is that you had a relationship with Mark Bebensey at the Citadel. So you had a relationship with a professor who was looking out for you and helped you figure out how to get this job at a top accounting firm at the time. And that set you on a path. And then I hear at different intervals in your career, your relationships from the Citadel really played into who you were working with, who you were merging with, how those professional relationships developed and sort of culminated in, and now you're working with many Citadel grads at Dixon Hughes in forensic accounting. It's just a fantastic thread that runs through that story of Citadel relationships. And so I think that's really important for cadets to hear, because you're in this grinder at the Citadel, going through all this difficulty and all this hard work, and they know how to work hard, but knowing that those relationships, you hear they will, but to actually hear from someone who's experienced that, I think is very powerful. So that's pretty amazing. Now, did you know that we've accounting is now, it's always been something we focus on at the Citadel, but now it's its own segment at the business school. So if you ever do find the time, I'm sure they'd love to have you back.
Yeah.
What lessons do you think you learned at the Citadel that have carried through your career? What experience did you have as an undergraduate that you think, man, I leaned on that as I was a mid and top level manager?
Yeah, it's probably there's a lot of things, but one that I think of off the top of my head is you can blame people for a lot of things, but you can't blame people for being late, and you control that. And I know we laugh, I'm joking about it in a sense, but that, being on time, doing what you say you're going to do when you're making a commitment, people recognize it. So many other people don't have it. It's a powerful tool. And it's so easy. It's something so easy that that a lot of people don't have. And I think that, that's one of the things that I think of off the top of my head. The other thing is, when you get out of the Citadel, when I graduated from the Citadel, it's a big deal. And I was competing with, graduates from other colleges and many people that had MBAs and things of that nature. But I think one thing that I learned at the Citadel that carried on and it helped me progress. And I think it helped me progress faster, is I knew that I had to crawl before I could walk. I didn't have an issue with somebody that maybe is only a year or two ahead of me asking me to do something. I didn't have, my head on my shoulder, trying to be the big shot. I wanted to take advantage through my work ethic, my knowledge, etc., of any of those opportunities, because that carries over, whether it's doing something for a partner and being responsive to the partner. That partner may or may not remember that, but if you do that in our role as a senior's asking you to do something, you're just out of the Citadel. I copied. We don't use copiers much today, but if that senior said, Roy, go there and get this stuff copied for me. We're in the field at a client. So I didn't look down on that. And what I found that if you do that, if you treat other people with respect, they'll treat you with respect also. And your objective is to always be learning. And the best way to learn is from others. So take advantage of their experiences, and they will be more willing to help you, I think, if you're working in that fashion. And it's at the Citadel, we kind of start out as a knob, and then we move up to, this deity there of a senior, whether you've got the highest rank or the lowest rank as your, senior private, it doesn't matter. You've gone through this process, and if you can keep that in mind, you're not at the end when you graduate from the Citadel. And that process starts over, and having that good perspective, I think, helped me progress in my career.
That is terrific advice. You're not at the end. You're really at the beginning. Right. And I have to say that these cadets, they don't even. It's hard to understand how special what they're going through is at the time they're going through it. They're hammered with so much on the 24-hour cadet schedule, and they're exhausted, and they're talked to about leadership, and they get all kinds of examples of good and bad leadership from their peers and from their hires. And it's just, I think it's so exhausting that they don't recognize how valuable that gauntlet that they've just run is going to be when they start running the next gauntlet, the professional gauntlet. And so that advice about the simple blocking and tackling, being on time, doing what you say you're going to do, being humble about those tasks, carrying through, is really terrific advice. Well, I'll wrap up with the question that I always wrap up these interviews with, which is, you've had this great career. You've managed to start your own business. You've survived Arthur Anderson. You've been through a number of mergers, and now you're at one of the top executives at Dixon Hughes. What advice would you give that cadet who was sitting in your shoes, who's now sitting in your shoes as a senior, as he steps out of the Citadel? What's one thing you wish you had known from your now collected wisdom that you didn't know that you would want to share with them?
Yeah, I've talked with a lot of younger folks about this, and I don't know if it's something that I wish I'd have known, but it's something that has kind of evolved over time with me that I've recognized. Is I gave you the example that I was fortunate enough to where I kind of knew what I wanted to do early on. And I've had a good career so far, and I enjoy what I do. But the reason I come to work every day is because I enjoy what I do. I sincerely do. I enjoy the people that I work with, and I enjoy both internally and externally. I enjoy watching young folks progress and develop within a firm or whatever they're doing. And you notice I've used the word enjoy several times there. The key, I believe, is not everybody will figure it out on their first try. But to have success in a career, I think you have to figure out how to find an occupation or job that doesn't feel like work. Because I don't think about what I'm doing like I'm talking with you now. Technically, this is work, but it doesn't feel like work.
I'm glad to hear that.
I just got off the phone with an attorney for the last 30 minutes talking about a very complex, difficult damage calculation that I'm struggling with. I'm 58 years old, been doing it for 35 years, and I'm struggling with this, but it didn't feel like work. So when you get out of the Citadel and you find your job or your occupation, the challenge is finding the job that satisfies you. It might not be your first chance. Your first job, you might get in there and within 6 months, and 6 months isn't long enough, but you might be there and you say, I just don't enjoy this. Well, look here. Don't put yourself in a position where you're going to go to work every day on a job that you don't enjoy. Find something that you enjoy, and you'll know when you found it is when you get up in the morning, you don't even think about it being work. It's just part of your life. And the reason that's so important, in my opinion, is everybody can do the basic math, but if you only work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, look what percentage of your total week is made up of work. So don't spend that much of your, and then if you take it the rest of your life, don't spend that much of your time doing something you don't enjoy. And I would also argue if you don't enjoy, you probably won't be as successful at it. If you enjoy it, you won't even think about, oh, I worked 8 hours today. You might work 10 hours and it doesn't really feel like you've worked 8. You're working for another reason. And that's what I believe success is in your occupation career, not success overall. But it's fine if, and what I'll tell you, out of whoever's listening to this, there's going to be a few that are lucky enough that they say, oh, I mean, I've got another friend that graduated with me, Rich DeVita. He passed away last year of cancer, but he was selling, his family and his dad had sold Northwestern Mutual Insurance. He was selling that as a senior in high school, and he became one of the most successful representatives that they had. He was fortunate, but don't think it's bad if you don't figure it out on the first try. Just keep trying until you find that job that doesn't feel like work. That's the kind of the end answer there.
Roy, that is great advice. These cadets, these seniors who have an interest in accounting, they're really going to enjoy hearing from you. So I very much appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
We'll see you.